transmitting from an unknown location on a planet that has a lot of unknowns and knowns and illusions and delusions and killusions. We here to make it real. So I had this epiphany or this download. First of all, if you don't leave, you stay. What is that called? Namaste. If you don't believe in, how do you say, reincarnation, you're on the wrong planet. Actually, you're in the wrong game grid. Put it this way. So, wish I had a selfie stick, but I think that'll do. My new fashion coming out soon. Activation templates. Boy, I tell you, this t-shirt is so active that I can't sleep in it. At least the first night I couldn't handle it too much. Basically, I'm bringing all your cosmic knowledge back. I will have a video up, or if it's not already up, depending on how I decide to chronologically in order upload videos that I think are fit for you to see, visualize. Is I received this download while I'm walking through this small little canyon situation here, finding unusual drone spots to give you an aerial view of what this actually is here. So your program aspects can kick in and you can remember who you are. If you feel the calling, you will come to the land to be awakened. Anyway, I feel really, very good. It's what is it? It's 8 in the morning. Nah, it's like 9:15. It's about to get hot, but thank God it's fall, so it's not as hot as killer hot. You know, 110 degrees out here. You don't do hikes. That's what you don't do, especially when you're like 70 years old and you have a pacemaker. Just for all the folks that go out there, older folks, go in early in the morning when it's cool and you'll have fun. Everything else is a struggle. See, this area here where I'm at, what they suggest is when you walk in, they say full round trip 5 hours, a gallon of water a person, and then a list of things you have to have when facing the challenge of nature. So people don't know, this is what life is about. This is rural country. You very, very quick have to learn this is not the city, there's no grocery store, nothing convenient, and not even an ambulance close. So you gotta be self-responsible, not careless. So, where was I? Okay, the download is, if you haven't watched that movie, pretty interesting. It's called The Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise. And it's about him waking up somewhere. He's a soldier, he's sent to war. They're fighting these mechanized reptilian beings. Interesting. They're kind of like viral. And he dies and comes back very quick. So now understand this now from an angelic perspective. You're an angel from the higher realms. You are. Not only that you're extraterrestrial, all of you, you're angels. You all have wings, more or less. You all have ranks. Ranks have to do with experience on the holographic game grid, meaning your consciousness is non-locale. You're always source code. Question is, the body is between you and the source, and depending on your resistance, you'll you let God in or not. Like surrender to love means surrender to what you ultimately are. You know how profound that is? So even if you have people that saying spirituality is nonsense, or there's such a thing as unspirituality, it doesn't matter what you say, whatever you create is. It doesn't matter what your belief system is. If you believe it and you're convinced, it will be. So all of those fighters and opposers and haters, you created, and so it will be. What's the lesson? I have learned, which studies have shown with Timothy Leary in the 50s, that when somebody has a full-blown LSD trip, not that I am suggesting that here, You know, I'm talking about Switzerland grade development, Albert Hoffman, pure, not no street stuff, all the crazy stuff that's out right now. You don't know what you're getting into. This is like lab stuff, okay? Controlled and monitored. There's one thing on YouTube you should watch where a housewife is basically drugged and a guy interviews her. And you see how she's in connection with the cosmos. And where the templates were in the 50s, where she explained to the guy that she's like, I feel sorry for you, that you can't even experience the oneness. You have no idea. And the guy is all in his head and is trying to find out where she is, and he can't find out because she's going avatar mode. And you all have that more or less, but you also have filters. That's why sometimes people say, well, there's a psychedelic trip and I didn't see nothing. Well, if your ego fools you into this nothing going on, guess what? You can take whatever you want to take. Again, I'm against the misuse of drugs, and I'm against chemicals. Anything within legality, and like I'm part native, it's within your rights, biodegradable, and controllable by people that know what they're doing. Anyway, so in Switzerland, by the way, it's the only country in the world where schizophrenia gets treated with LSD. So here's the thing, what they have found out in Switzerland is that, let's say a guy is violently schizophrenic, totally flips out, and they put him, very important, set and setting. This is an example of where the mind can go. This can also be done without a substance. I'll come to that. This is this Gamegrid situation. So this is an accelerated access code. Is that what you take in? So before I get into the explanation of that, this is a correctional data. Once treated nice, it can correct your brain waves, synchronizes your brain, and brings your altered state back into its original state as intended by the divine creator, namely creation, which is feminine. Anyway, so take that how you like it. The deal is this: in a game, if you die in a computer game, you have to understand, why do we develop computer games? It's called respawning. Yeah, so when your character dies in the game grid, there's an offer for you to respawn, also a location being offered where do you want to respawn. So now imagine Earth is this game grid, and this is the Ultra PlayStation here, okay? And it's so real that when you insert yourself, you're in this. Like on Star Trek Voyager or Star Trek Next Generation, the holodeck, where it's made believe to be real. Interestingly is that the holodeck is designed to project photons to make believe that whatever you run into is kind of real. Where they have a case on one of the Star Trek Voyagers, this is ingenious to channel this in a movie script. They have a scene where they run into this photonic amoebic type super being, and they're collecting samples, not knowing that they abducted their children, and they want to study that. So the mother of a photonic existence is upset about that. So she enters the holodeck, and there's a computer in there that runs the data that transforms photons into matter, and then stuff becomes real. So they have one guy from the ship that disappears because he's been taken by that being. And Star Trek Voyager, you know, the captain, was it Janeway? They need time to realize, we have entities on board and we abducted their children. What would you do? And then they realize we have to communicate on its level. So they send in the holographic aspect of the program, the doctor, to communicate and give the children back, so they can have their crew members back in their own holodeck. So this is us. PlayStation is created basically to remind us this is a game grid, okay? It doesn't even matter what president or election, all of this. It's a game. It is not real. When the human race goes interstellar, nobody will talk about an election, nor a debate. You know, have to understand the level of consciousness that has created that is exactly where, not where free energy is. You know? Also understand that our ET friends are not alien. You know what's alien? Really alien? And I say, don't call them the aliens. I talk to extra-dimensional beings, time travelers and dimensional hoppers, because they have the capacity to do that. The reason why we don't understand the flight pattern is we don't understand dimensionality. A lot of us have these downloads, and you sit around and you don't do anything with the downloads. You know, if you have a download that you have to look at the nuclear reservoir of an atom, that's what I got. So I'm studying quantum physics, atoms, what does that even do? And realizing that a photon is a carrier of information that comes from beyond this world. Meaning, in this game that I played called The Division, there is something that's called an echo beacon. It's in the future. So if you want to know what happened in a certain scene, let's say a crime scene, and there's an echo beacon, it can photonically go back in time. Now imagine that. And then you see who's standing around, frozen in time, like a snapshot, and you tap into this probe that records back in time, and then you see what actually happened. And then you hear people talking, and you look around in the environment, and you have to find clues. So these photonic images, you can see this here in the back, are stored in these rocks. The access to these rocks are DMT, dimethyltryptamine, naturally activated in your brain when you're in these environments. In the city, if you're not sleeping on a Flower of Life grid or magnetite under your mattress, it's very hard to actually get the information that is required for you to wake up. So I will build a stool. I'll build a stool. So ein verdrehter Kopf. Anyway, I'm pretty loaded up here. The land gives you like energy. So anyway, so you need to make your home a sacred space. That means this is called the download spot. So every morning you wake up, you reinsert back into this matrix, which can be modulated. It's not fixed. Know that. So when you remodulate back into the matrix from the safe house, that's the same thing that the pharaohs did before they got dismembered. They couldn't come back. The stargates were shut down, and all this Gamegrid thing here became a little bit of trap. Now imagine you are how would I say, you're playing a game, you play that game for so long, and you forgot that you played the game. And then you think that game is real. You have to play the game to see. The mission of the game is to play it until the game is finished. Gotta jump over the stuff here. So 30,000 years now. It's been a long ass time. The Mayan calendar is also an Arcturian bitmap code calendar that has other codes to decipher that we haven't even read yet. If you want to get into the Chronicles of Time, I suggest Jose Arguelles. A lot of people say he was off. No, he had his mission to explain that to this civilization in this timeline. Very important. So if you look at timelines, you see these, I don't know if you can see this, these craters in these little canyons. Now imagine these timelines are rifts in time that you create. One is on this path. Let me see if I can flip the camera. Show that to you. I actually cannot flip the camera from here. Anyway, so one chooses this path, one chooses the other path. So respawning means you're reincarnating, meaning you're coming back into the game. So as you download yourself, you put presets in your game. Like when you play Guild Wars, or for those that don't know games, I'm breaking down a little bit, you get skills like in Zelda or other games. And in these games, as you travel the land and you find the magic, you go into the ancient catacombs, you beat egoic opposites, as in, how do you say, mastering the mission. You get points. You get magic potions.
You get magic potions to skip reincarnation. I mean, you have to look at the depth of programming of games. One is Super Mario. That dude eats a mushroom that somewhat looks like the fly agaric mushroom. You all know what that is, and that the reindeers eat that, and that the Lappish shamans drink the reindeer piss because they filter out the toxins, and it still remains, how do you say, psychedelic, because it's cataclytic. It's not being processed, just like LSD, and that's why these reindeers fly around. Reindeers trip naturally. There was a documentary on that where they run around and you're on the floor, basically. And that's where this whole Santa Claus fabrication comes from, with the elves and all of this. Why do you think that in all the fairy tales, they got these blue mushrooms, these elongated Hawaiians, what they call Cubanenses, and in the gateway where the elves go, these are Gamegrid
Activated modules for your brain to go there, but you have lost the ability to activate that. We have created a legal system that in certain countries doesn't allow you to go there, nor do we have the playground where we know where the gateways are that we can go there and refresh actually and reboot who the freak we are. And the mission is for you to remember, out of breath because I've been climbing, who you are. So as you respawn, you come back, and what you have to do is you basically have to angelically reverse engineer yourself to find out, who am I? And then you get into, in the ancient timeline, I was a swordsman, sort of like a swordsman in China. So that explains why you go to Kung Fu class and you learn that quicker than any other student. Everybody goes like, you're so talented. It has nothing to do with talent. It has to do with the pre-programmed modular aspect of your ancestral lineage on your subcoding levels in your DNA, that you have a predisposition to learn that quicker because you learned it before. So past life doesn't, you have to also connect that with your past life, doesn't mean another life and another respawning sector. These past lives are connected through the cycles of respawning, as in reincarnating, and certain game grids. And you retain all the memory of all your lives. Now, can you imagine to retain a memory of 1,000 lives, all active? You're like a god on earth. Jesus said, for those who like the Jesus template, Jesus said, ye are gods, children of the Most High. And those that are Bible true, and I'm just using that as a space manual. To me, Bible is a space manual. That means basic instruction before leaving Earth. So much stuff. It's a space module that teaches you what to do and how to conduct yourself. Check the Tibetan Book of the Dead. These are space modules and manuals that teach you how to prepare yourself when you leave this planet at some point in physical form. And not in 100 years or whatever, depending on how quick you are able to build your interstellar stargates to bring the scout ships in and teach and learn technology as you bring yourself together with your brothers and sisters, the faster this can go. This can happen like next year. Let's say $20 million, you buy some property, you set up interstellar landing platforms, you have a complete encyclopedia of minerals and dietary ideas, and the way food has to be processed. Food has to be processed also in a completely new way, like photonically enhanced, which is what I'm working with, and I will introduce that to the world. See, even with my fashion, photonically enhanced and pre-programmed clothing that gets you actually your modular systems and your intra-cell communication back on a game grid, that you actually understand this is a game. Don't take it so serious. You can modulate, you can bend rules, you can change, interchange, expand your consciousness. So if you understand the haters that have no contact and that are pissed and they're on YouTube and I don't know, they're shaming people with whatever they want to do, and however minute that is, these are the resisting cells of a consciousness that is not developed yet enough, sorry to say. Like a fresh toddler, they're mad that they don't realize that you're part of the game, you're creating all of this. You're part of this. So, compassion. And here's what I do. I'm not trying to turn this into a dogma. I will not be on any channel hating around. That's wasting my life force and my time. You know, see this as fun and also entertainment. Take it with a grain of salt. It will happen the way it's supposed to. If you intend contact, I suggest study C5. These contact groups, these all around the world, they all have contact. I have had physical contact. And people say, oh yeah, of course, psychedelics and RC ships too. It's not based on psychedelics to activate the game grid and understand this is a game. Call it game on. Is also, that will lead into the next video, what that means actually when your third eye is open, you begin to see with your third eye. Not talking about you claiming that you see. I can stand in front of you and say, what do you see? And if somebody has an attachment like an, I don't know, octopus type being that sits on somebody's shoulder, and you can paint that and remove it, and result is the person feels better staying that way, then you have impact. Everything else to me is actually, in Germany we say pipifax, crapola. It means nothing. Look at a little butterfly. Anyway, so the reality is to divinely, purposefully make real. So, the mission in Edge of Tomorrow, and I will spoil this movie, I mean you watch it, you see it, is the human race is continuously losing. It's like in a loop. They're not getting it. They're in war, the others always have the advantage. And that somehow Tom Cruise goes to an alpha drone. And this alpha drone somewhat has a liquid that makes it precognitive and super psychic. And all of a sudden, Tom Cruise has these visions and realizes they're always winning because they went into time. They went into a probable timeline because we were so dense. Understand at a certain density level. See, look at this. Your timeline becomes a canyon. You get stuck in that canyon and your consciousness cannot basically evolve out of it. So when you're stuck there and you have species coming with an agenda to actually run this planet, and they're a little bit primitive. They're not the omnipotent forces of light. They are councils of light. They are angels. They are different hierarchies. They're not that. They're more primitive. Yeah, and some of them are going extinct, and they have to. Some want to fix it, and the others want to argue like. They're not so much about fixing things. So they come to this planet, which I like the analogy of Bashar saying that the original being on this planet was a Sasquatch. So I say, I bow and respect to the Sasquatch. And when these beings come, do not draw guns. You kneel, you send love, and you look at them, and they will come and talk to you. If you run or you scare them, they will defend their territory. They won't kill you, but they will scare the heck out of you if you're threatening them. They are peaceful beings. I had a friend of mine that didn't believe in those dudes, a girl in Berlin. I think her name was Saskia. Anyway, 6-7 years ago, and she said that she was in a sweat lodge in Peru. And she sat with a Sasquatch. That the natives prepared her, if I'm not mistaken, with a kogi. And they said that be calm, everything is cool. He comes when we sit. He smells a bit because, you know, like Chewbacca, the fur. But he will sit with us. See, these are options in the game grid when you listen. When we get away from the city and whatever the supremacists have created and get into native thinking and native lore of the folk. The Hopi have tales about little people, all of that stuff, to them is very real. And the elves that I have seen, they say they don't respect us, nor do they want to see us. They create fragrances that we don't even like. We love essential oils, we don't like perfume. Your streets are dirty, your thoughts are dirty. Why would we come chill with you? And we don't want to work with you. We're elementals and we're part of you. But you deny us. So, this is the time, like when the Doctor Strange movie comes out also, is to reinstate original magic. It is your birthright to bring that back. So I want to do everything that I can to inspire that in you. Like little kids, I don't even have to say nothing. They get, they feel. They don't conceptualize into, oh, but you have no proof. Well, there's no scientific evidence. It's about how does it feel imagining that truth. And if you feel better, and if it gives you power, and it's enlightening to you, I think you should follow that path. No guru can tell you that. That's up to you. So, in this game grid, Find your activation codes, find videos that activate you, watch videos that excite you. Don't make yourself subject to bad news. Nobody needs that. Nobody requires that. It doesn't help build anything. And we all come to the conclusion, sorry for the lighting, we need to set it up. Now, some minister in Syria recognizes that thousands of years, you know, their ancestors, like the Sumerians, had starports and platforms for ships to go in and out. That explains why I had a vision when I came to Sedona that this entire place here was full with temples, ancient cities, landing platforms, ships coming in and out. And I'm like, this is like the craziest science fiction ever lived. So let's rebuild, you know. Then I realized when I was 9, the first thing that I ordered was a Lego station, a commanding post with a landing platform. And I said to my mother, I want to build that. And she's like, yeah. It's like, you are here. I don't know why you're here. She's like, you don't want to work, like regular work, which I didn't like. She's like, it seems like you're waiting for something. Well, the time is now more than ever to activate that. To get land. I already have access to land from Shasta to Montana, but I need the base first. I don't want to reroute what I have to do, and I want my piece. That's my piece for life. Raw collective control. And then also mission is in that game grid. When you reach certain levels, you get abilities. Also, my abilities are, and it's interesting how magic you have to understand, how does magic translate in this three-dimensional vector of this dimensional time template. Also, Earth is not flat. Earth is a plane. It's round, but it's also a plane. So don't get confused by a lot of that. You fall off the edge when you walk. There's no edge. Okay? You have to understand holographic time-lapse plane programming. That is by Janis Cohen. Janis Cohen. These are these golden dream dudes that you meet at a certain sphere. That's a very, very high dimensional aspect of beings. They're not even close to polarity. And you can't, when you're in their realm, you can't think. You are to perceive and overstand who you are. They are programmers of time templates that you're living in. They allowing you to find clues. And like in any game, you know, you look in the land, what do you have to look for? The path. The path is not always evident. Sometimes, see, when you're lost, what does your shamanic eye tell you? Where the path is here. I can see it. Can you see it? So sometimes in the game grid, when you play games, see, has a path here, but can you see it directly? It's very faint. See here, indirectly. You got to watch the deer. What are these ley lines that the animals walk? So when you learn to walk the ley lines, that's off path, and that's only for professional shamans and druids if you do that. And be well prepared, and if you're in rural country, really have your water, know what you're doing. Give yourself a 6-hour radius, and not in midsummer. Otherwise, it can be life-threatening. So you have to really know what you're doing. So your psyche, can you imagine back in the days living here? If you want to go from one town to the next town and you see all of this, you make one mistake and your intuition is not up to par. Respawn. But interestingly is, see, in the computer game is we developed the computer game to trick it, to make it faster. Now we're respawning with the memory where we left off, and we can go back to the same thing and do it over again. There was another movie, it's called Source Code. Watch that. It's really interesting what Hollywood is teaching us. There's stuff there that's being taught. We need to understand that. So come back quicker. Now remember who you are. Remember your safe house and set your safe house with a stash, like in the games, that when you come back, you're equipped to very quickly modulate the game grid and have something like next to superpowers. And the quicker you are, the quicker you accelerate. Also, since this is an interwoven, infinite super program of Earth, when you develop super skills, and let's say in the past you had a lot of haters, the consciousness of these haters will be left in a game grid that is on a lower level. And when you go next level, you won't have the same friends, or your old friends don't understand you anymore, because these become visual, holographic, residual image of self memory banks of what used to be and no longer is. Hope you can follow that. So I'm teaching you here to things change because the game module changed. Also, as I refer to Super Mario, what happens, and if you don't know it, Google it, when Super Mario eats a mushroom. He can be invisible, he can teleport, his size is changing, he turns into his higher self, he can overcome his enemies better. There are also poisonous mushrooms that he's not supposed to touch. If he touches that, he loses the skill to maintain in that grid, and he has a certain amount of lives to reincarnate in that game grid to master certain worlds. What does he do? He has to save the princess because this turtle Godzilla looking dude snatched the princess. So what does that mean? It's the masculine aspect is actually responsible, not leading, to cherish and bring the feminine aspect home on this planet. This is what this game translates to me. And Super Mario, he's the guy, dressed in red, let that be the root chakra, who anchors in, I can do a whole nother set on games, how to master the game grid and get off. And I want to also note this, that Nostradamus in the 1500s, if I'm not mistaken, said we will be over 111 popes that we will have elected. And then he said the last president will be a female president. So we are over 111 popes, and Hillary looks like a close run. I will not make predictions, but the probabilities are very high that she might make it. Okay, but I'm not predicting that. All I'm saying is if this prophecy falls into place, we're very close. Because at some point, government structures will, by the consciousness that have created that, no longer be required. We will have communities, community leaders, community clans, and bigger pots. There's a book, I don't know if it's Sheldon Neidl, Your Intergalactic Neighbors. I suggest you read that if you want to get into what is the new cosmic economy going to look like. So our Intergalactic Neighbors, or Galactic Neighbors by Sheldon Neidl, if I'm not mistaken. And Revealer of the Seventh Ray has to do, what's flying around here? You hear this? Wow. Anyway, so that has to do with the chosen scientists and communities by cosmic intellect and divine right will bring forth technologies, also kids, that will be mind-blowing. So next year is going to be very interesting. I already have something that is already defined, everything that physics knows, my fuel diviner, that changes every aspect of your car. I've sold 100 so far, not one complaint. They're working. People getting better, their consciousness is changing. Also, well, I can reveal that also, as I'm part of the seventh ray, the blue, I'm the blue one. I want to help you to reinstall the original consciousness intended by the Creator. That's actually what I want to do. And this is these things that I go through when I do hikes. Sometimes, when my friends come and visit me and they want me to do a private hike tour, I know the path of where downloads are activated, and I say walk with me and don't talk. And whenever revelation comes up, spill it out and take your phone with you and record. So this is what I do. And now I'm actually back on track with that again, to make that happen. So anybody who wants to inquire about power places and power spots to visit, feel free to contact me on my contact form. I'll give you tips and tricks and hints of where to go and what to do, and also can tell you stuff that the tourists are missing because they don't know what to look for, because nobody has ever taught them. It has to do with the awareness and the mind and the intellect to really perceive as such. I can take the worst candidate or hater and walk this with me, and I can hear all the ego coming up, all the shadow, meh, 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 and I can record it, stories about that. But when they leave, they're changed. And it's not me doing it, it's them. So also know a guy who can make you well is not a healer. We can only inspire you to heal yourself. And you're allowed to do that. Look at modalities that work for you. Also, the cosmic aspect of that, what I'm, how do you say, bringing to you people is common sense. Like when you see somebody treating people and they get better, and it's not suggested, whatever. And others, like my mother, runs to the same doctor with the same pain for over, let's say, 50 years. Make your choice. I'm saying if it's, I'm not saying not to discredit any doctor. I'm not any doctor. I'm not any physician. If you feel that it's within your right, that you have to see a physician, then you must go. If it's acute, like a broken bone or some stuff, you need to be hospitalized, by no means do what you have to do. But if you are spending money and you're in a situation and I don't care who treats you and you're not getting better, use your common sense to make a choice. What does physically really help you? And look at modalities where people come back. And if it's 500 people in one case study, they all say, I'm good. I'm doing this, I'm good. Listen to your intuition. Too many of us trusted the so-called expert, the dude with the most money, the most influential thing, is what knows what is best. Not all the time. You know what's best. And I want you to take your power back, to climb to know what alternative will work for you. And ask. There are no guarantees. There only is observation and success and taking note of that and sharing that with the next one. Each one teach one. So on that note, from the holographic Gamegrid Vela Tropa, they told me to leave and I said, nah, I'ma stay. Level up.
Is what the mushroom says, one up means flip side. And that's where me, Arcturian, will most definitely see you. Blessings.